Good afternoon and good evening, everyone. My name is Mr. Patch, and I'm here from Bionic Eel Press to talk about stuff again. Last week, we talked about fear, choice, and why having a place to talk about stuff is important. This week, I want to talk about my 3 pillars of relationships. Not just romantic relationships, but any relationship you have with someone whom you depend on for something. The 3 pillars are communication, respect, and trust. And let me assure you, these 3 rules are straightforward, but they are not simple, and they are not easy. Firstly, communication is key. Communication is defined as any method you have of conveying your experience or your expectations to someone else. Much has been said about the types of communication, whether it be nonverbal, their love languages, teasing your spouse, etc. But the key for communication is clarity. I touched last week upon how easy it can be for 2 people who speak the same language to get different information from the same source. One example I like to use is when my wife asked me to buy a ham from the store. I thought I was doing a good job by finding the biggest ham possible because it was on sale, so we'd get the most meat for the least amount of money. Turns out we didn't have a pan large enough to cook the ham in, so it ended up not being the right ham to buy. So was I wrong in the choice of ham? Well, no, because I met the qualifications of the brief. I went and I bought a ham. Specificity would have saved us both some headache in that situation, however. In that scenario, everything went perfectly, except for information that we didn't know we needed to share with one another. Does that make sense? It's important when you're communicating with somebody to pause and to ask, are you hearing what I'm saying? Because if you don't, you'll get a miscommunication. And English is a notoriously bad language for communication, leading to all these miscommunications. Specifically, all of the traits that make it wonderful for poets, with the alliterations and flowery language, make it a pain to be understood. So, to communicate effectively in English, one must understand that no matter how clear you think you are when speaking, it doesn't hurt to clarify. And 2, you will still be misunderstood. Sitcoms and teen dramas are rife with storylines that could be resolved in minutes if the 2 characters would just talk to one another instead of leaving hints or assuming the motivations of the other character. It's also important to remember that clear communication is not a destination. It's a process, and it must be refined for each person and each situation that you come into. The second pillar is respect. I remember reading the Icewind Dale trilogy when I was in high school. It's about a dark elf who moved out of the Underdark to live on the surface because he did not agree with the drow, the dark elves that he lived with, the society he was born into. He is in a conversation with another character about earning respect. And he said he doesn't make anyone earn his own respect. He gives it freely. His respect can be lost, for sure, but it need not be earned initially. The arrogance inherent in the phrase earn my respect is so great. Who are you to say your respect is even worth earning? And that passage has stuck with me, and I try to apply it in all of my interactions with others. I'm not perfect, and I fail often, but I try to respect everyone for no more reason than they exist. Who am I to say that someone else has to earn my respect before I will treat them like a human being? What more qualification do you need? Now, what does this have to do with relationships? I mean, it's fine and dandy to talk about respect, and it's a completely other beast to show it, to prove that you have that respect. Respect is an action, and I try and show respect by deferring to others in matters that don't concern me, by putting effort into setting time aside, for the people and things that I want to spend time with, and by acting in a way that doesn't negatively impact those people and things. This can be tricky, especially with people, and requires constant communication and clarification and specificity to get it right. For example, I went to a friend's house and had dinner, and fantastic dinner. After the meal, I collected the dishes and started washing them, thinking that I was being a good guest. I was trying to do him a favor. And he was insulted. In his mind, the guest shouldn't do the work. That's not the purpose of being a guest. And so there, the same situation, two people that know each other pretty well, still missing the mark. Me trying to do something that I believe shows respect, and him taking it as an action that disrespects him. If I could go back and do it again, absolutely, I would defer to his wishes. Third pillar is trust. Now, these 3 points that I've covered all build upon one another. Trust needs respect, and respect needs communication. Trust is the act of respecting someone else enough to believe them when they tell you something. And it's a difficult task. It's a big ask, because trusting requires vulnerability. It requires letting go of some control. It requires the threat of loss. Trust requires interdependence. Bridges are built with many columns and pylons. No single column could do the work of all of them to support the bridge. They need each other. And we as a society trust that the engineers and the architects will build safe structures, will build things that will last for hundreds of years. Or, at least, at the very least, won't collapse. Yeah. But depending on others is scary. It's scary because of that loss potential. And the greater that potential loss, the greater the trust that is needed. There's a direct correlation between the two. But the level of trust that you want to have with someone is always up to you. You don't have to trust anyone. You don't have to do any of these things. But I know in my experience, having these 3 pillars has led me to have deeper and more meaningful relationships. Not just with my wife, but with my friends, with myself. But then what happens if that trust is broken? Can relationships be salvaged where there's broken trust? Of course, with caveats. Broken trust creates a scar in a relationship. It's like a broken bone or an injury would. Can you heal from a cut? Yeah. Can you go back to being the same person you were before the injury? No. Something is different. How big that difference is, how noticeable it is, how much it affects you in your life, that all depends on the type of injury. It depends on the level of trust that was broken. So it's all about whether you can handle the new look. Communicate clearly and don't be afraid to ask for clarification. I mean, if the other person isn't willing to clarify, that tells you something about the relationship. Respect the person with which you are interacting. And finally, you have to trust. Trust your coworkers to do their jobs. You trust your partner to be faithful. Trust your employer to pay you on time. Trust is necessary for a functioning society. With that, I want to thank you all for watching. If you like what I'm doing, please let me know. And if you don't, please let me know. And if you want to help me figure out ideas for videos, again, let me know. You can do all of that via the comment section below and by liking or disliking this video. And if you're feeling really, really special, you could also subscribe for more videos like this. Right now, I'm setting an upload schedule of once a week. Slowly, as I get better, I plan on getting better equipment and making these videos look and sound better, and increasing my ability to make and publish them. With all that said, I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time.